भाई सुनील जगानिया जब पब्लिक फोरम पे आते हैं लोग एक ही चीज जानना चाहते हैं, आप भी जानते हो सवाल क्या होगा। क्या सवाल पूछना चाहिए जब सुनील संघानिया आते हैं? What is the next big theme, idea, or a trend which you are betting on? I mean, at heart, you are a stock picker. I respect your compliance. We will not talk stocks, but give us where you think that there is scope for earnings upgrade, P upgrade, and where the macros are going to be favoring a strong, economic growth.
So, first of all, just to 2 minutes take the conversation of what was going on. See, one thing which we sometimes don't realize, we feel that a stock is expensive, और हमारे साथ भी बहुत होता है because you are very value conscious. खरीदा ही नहीं जाता है महंगा. But when you see over a period of 3, 4, 5 years, the company is just transformed. और फिर लगता है अरे ये 4 साल पहले इतना सस्ता था. I think even from a foreigner's perspective, they might be thinking that China is 9p, 10p and India is 17p. खाली P basis पे अगर हम invest करते तो फिर हमारी जरूरत ही नहीं होती थी. You just have a mathematical exercise कि जो सबसे सस्ता P है वो country खरीद लो. But I can tell you, your wealth would have been 10% of what it is today if you would have followed that. So maybe after 4, 5 years they will realize अरे 3.7 का 7 हो गया. It was such a golden opportunity to invest. But anyway, I think coming to your question, and I've said this, I and Navneet were even yesterday on a panel. See, the sectors which look the best in terms of profit growth sometimes don't turn out to be the best in terms of equity market returns, and vice versa. A clear example is 2023 or financial year 24, the sector which performed the best in terms of profits, growth, balance sheet, everything was private sector banks. But no private sector bank, at least the larger ones, have given any return last 1 year. And on the other hand, IT had the worst year since Lehman. Growth was non-existent. The guidance given was 2%, 3% per annum, and still it turned out to be a very decent sector. So I think a lot of times, your question that where there will be earnings upgrade, maybe sectors where there's earnings upgrade, the returns might not be there. But having said that, I completely agree that India is a country driven by entrepreneurs. We always say this, that India grows because of entrepreneurs and despite the government in a lot of sectors. And I think that is basically the reason why it keeps on growing at 6.5%, 7% when the world is growing at 0%. And obviously, I think that opens up opportunity. There are so many new sectors which have come up. Suddenly, the likes of Zomato and Swiggy did not exist. That business did not exist. Obviously, we don't have investment there, but I'm just giving you a perspective. But there are so many other businesses which just did not exist 5, 10 years back, and now they are so large. So I think there is opportunity across. Having said that, to answer your question directly, I still believe that financials have a lot of room to grow. I think pharma has a lot of room to grow. Stocks are not expensive relative to the market. Companies are very clean. There is a natural advantage which a lot of these companies have. Sizes are such that now they can spend money on innovation. I think one thing where India has lagged massively, including IT services company and pharma, that we never had the guts to invest in creating products like Netflix or Meta or so many other products. Why couldn't some Indian company could have tried? If you're making 3, 4, $5 billion of net profit, you had capital to put it at risk. Maybe now things will change. Even in pharma, why can't we have innovative product coming out of it? We are always trying to copy and do the first to file and generic version of it. Why can't we have innovative products? I think that will change now because earlier, our kids used to go abroad to settle there. Now they're going abroad to study and they're coming back with innovation, they're coming back with technology, they're coming back with innovation. And now we have the capital to give it to them that ले बेटा चल जी ले तेरी जिंदगी ये ले 50-100 crore और कर innovation.
You're
I
giving
think
us 100 crores.
आ ही नहीं रहा है तो क्या करूं अभी. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the next 10, 15, 20 years can be a very different India and different growth. I know I'm just skirting your question round and round, but actually there will be very, very new types of companies and sectors, and that's why I said don't get swayed कि ये sector अच्छा है कि वो sector अच्छा है. I think just focus on having positive view on the economy. Keep your eyes, ears open, mouth shut, or इन्वेस्ट करते रहो.
Bharat bhai, I think we've really established, and thanks to everybody here, everybody on the panel, that the big picture, valuation support, the size of the opportunity, like you always say, the size of the pond is great. But it's a rarity for all of us to interact with you. You hardly come on public forums now. Everybody really wants to understand that where are you finding those not insights but insights? The insights where, to your mind, the next wealth creation cycle will start, it has started, or it will continue.
Say the last part again.
The wealth creation cycle has started, or it will continue.
No, we are, as I right at the beginning mentioned, we are at a cusp of one of the greatest transformational revolutions brewing before our own eyes. And therefore, we have just begun. Of course, nothing in investing is mathematical and fully predicated in a completely kind of a gospel truth certainty. There are, of course, risk factors and challenges that we have to be mindful of. What has got us here is a certain sense of purpose and certain sense of leadership and certain sense of reforms and changes that have been implemented and have been shown commitment to. If these continue, then the opportunities continue. But I think it is flowering of the opportunities. Navneet talked about the sheer diversity and the breadth of the businesses available in India. And truly, I think for the first time, it is now coming to fore in a much bigger way. Think of about 15 years back, under the attack of Chinese dumping, this country's manufacturing was in a state of tatters, where it would have simply been, and it was, I think, systematically getting hollowed out by China at that point of time. I don't know how, but any and everything was imported in the country at any kind of cost. And therefore, once you destroy profitability of industry and manufacturing, after a few years of struggle, the units will die. You finish off the industry and manufacturing, and the country becomes parasitical, dependent on the outside forces. I think cynically, that probably was something which was brewing around for a length of time. Finally, we are now seeing a revival of manufacturing, revival of industry, your capital goods, your defense, your railway ecosystem, your logistics, your warehousing, energy transition, greening of the energy equipment, energy financing, whole host of opportunities where India should have been leading from the front for a long time, but I'm glad at least finally it is coming to the fore. Even the circular part of economy, there are many areas where India is occupying leadership and where the opportunities are lying, where meaningful younger entrepreneurs and younger enterprises are emerging to take benefit of that compared to some of the more established businesses which should have done it actually earlier. Therefore, I find opportunities galore. But in investing, people find it very sexy to predict a lot of things and get a intellectual gratification in making very grand sounding forecasts. I think rather than making grand forecasts and trying to make very intelligent sounding conjectures of the future, I would prefer to watch as things evolve and try to adapt to the emergent reality rather than try to make very great meaning out of all the reality that may be coming about. Not that you don't have any view about it, but you don't want to get carried away by your own opinion about what is likely to occur. And therefore, willy-nilly, you become committed to it in a wrong way. And if you turn out to be wrong in your forecast, you still become enslaved to that forecast and make mistakes. Therefore, my feeling will be opportunities are great. It is across the sectors. Many more new things will emerge rather than the ones that we see today. Rising boat, rising economy creates many multiple opportunities. Some we can visualize, many will figure out as they happen. And therefore, more than most intelligent forecast about the future, greater ability to adjust and adapt to the future as it emerges will be a greater skill to have.
Great point. So, Nilesh bhai, again, a question on similar lines, but I'll phrase it slightly differently for the benefit of the audience here. can you divide the market into, let's say, three parts: good and cheap, good but expensive, and expensive and not growing, or will not grow?
So Nikunj bhai, we go and meet global investors, asking them to invest in our fund. So normal अपनी आदत है भाई इंडिया looks expensive on a 1 year basis. उस बंदे ने मुझे कहा नीलेश भाई आपका नजरिया बदलिए. India is the cheapest emerging market on a 5 year basis because your earnings growth will be far better than other countries. So ये good, bad, ugly की bucket is depending upon your time horizon.
Let's say 3 to 5 years. Let me define it.
So essentially, any company who is able to adopt for the future, that is good. Any company who is going to behave like dinosaur, that is bad. एक example देता हूँ निकुंज भाई. As of today, about 60-70 lakh Indians are employed in application space. Programming करते हैं, maintain करते हैं, develop करते हैं. But there are fears that artificial intelligence will come and replicate programming. Now, if that happens, what happens to the 60-70 lakh people? If we look at the transcripts of companies like Apple and Google and Tesla, they are focusing on robotics. They believe 90% of their revenue in future will come from robotics and not from what they are doing right now. Now, if that's the future, I'll have to invest in companies which are participating in that future. And as Sunil mentioned, we haven't invested in future as much as we should have. So please focus on companies which are preparing for the future, which are shaping the future. Companies which behave like dinosaur, they are all bad and ugly. Companies which is shaping future, they are all good and investable.
One more follow-up question, which is that
मैं इजी
हाँ
कर
जी, हाँ
दूं
जी।
क्या? गोपाल इज सिटिंग हियर, सो बोल रहा हूँ एचडीएफसी मल्टी कैप फंड. सो उसमें सब है, लार्ज कैप भी है, मिड कैप भी है, स्मॉल कैप भी है, क्वालिटी भी है, ग्रोथ भी है, वैल्यू भी है, सब हो जाता है इजी. सो वापस मत पूछना ऐसा.
चलो आप बोल दो, फिर आप बोलेगे कोटक के बारे में बोलने नहीं दिया, आप भी बोल दो.
So no, वो तो ऑटोमेटिक है. You know, interestingly, this whole debate about the large, mid, and small, and I'll just say, Nikunj, you'll remember a couple of years back, we used to have the same thing, and there are people who would say large cap versus small and mid cap. And I used to say that, and just alluding to what Nilesh Bhai just mentioned about the disruptions that are there in the world, geopolitical disruptions, I mean, the technological disruptions, the big changes in the consumer behavior. This generation is very different. The way they work, the way they think, the way they want to live, many things, that's a disruption. The ease of doing business is actually good for some, but not so good for many. So several, and the logistics has changed, as Bharat Bhai mentioned. That also changes many business models dramatically. And I used to say that few years back, and of course now the valuations are on the other side, that we are entering a world where agility and nimbleness will trade at substantial premium to size and stability. Agility and nimbleness will trade at a substantial premium to size and stability, which is precisely we have seen. But as like every cycle, this get like little overextended. I think there's a lot of froth in some of the small and mid caps you need to get worried about. But the size of opportunity is so large. And just digressing for a minute, because हम 4 chartered accountant बैठे हैं इधर, and मैं देखा अभी नीलेश विक्रम से बैठे हैं, past president है ICAI की. हम सब लोग थे FM के साथ few weeks back in an interesting event. And you know how to arouse our ambition. She said something so interesting. She said that कि आप सब chartered accountant इतने बैठे हो यहाँ पे, why there is no big four from India? And this is like profound, isn't it? Like we never thought about it, that why has India become so large? You have like one of the best, I think, the talent here on accounting. हम पूरी दुनिया के
गलत
fund
बोला उन्होंने, गलत
accounting
बोला.
यहाँ-
उनको पूछना तो इतने फंड मैनेजर्स बैठे, फिडेलिटी और वैनगार्ड क्यों नहीं आया यहाँ से?
वो तो बन जाएंगे हम. वो तो I told you that 1980 वाला 1980 में ये सब लोग 50-60 billion dollars थे, right? Fidelity, Capital, all of these guys. BlackRock was yet to be born. Blackstone was like just taking birth, and they are like trillions of dollars today. तो वो तो हम हो जाएंगे. That is given. In 2047, 50, whatever, if we are 20-25 trillion dollars of economy, which is let's say very close to current size of US, asset managers will be of that size, wealth managers will be of that size. अभी like बहुत लोग बोलते हैं यार आजकल बहुत हो गए, like सुनील भाई आपसे भरत भाई से इंस्पिरेशन लेके लॉट ऑफ पीपल हैव स्टार्टेड ऑन देयर ओन एंड से यार बहुत हो गए अभी तो बुल मार्केट फिनोमेना। ऐसे मैं हमेशा सोचता था, कभी भी जाते थे बॉस्टन जाओ आप, न्यूयॉर्क जाओ, सिंगापुर जाओ, लंदन जाओ, तो यार एक बिल्डिंग में इतने एसेट मैनेजर्स हैं, इतने वेल्थ मैनेजर्स हैं। इंडिया में तो लाइक इतने से यार ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? जब हम 3-4-5 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की इकॉनमी बनेंगे, जब 10 ट्रिलियन डॉलर की इकॉनमी बनेंगे, तो लॉजिकली यहाँ पे भी तो इतना होना चाहिए ना, मार्केट इतना बड़ा है, there are thousands of companies, and then private market देखिए आप, we've just started an FOF investing in PE and VC fund. I mean, the amount of the kind of entrepreneurship that you see there and the kind of ideas that people have got, I mean, what this market will be in 5-7 years or 10 years is hugely underestimated.
Great point. So, and you've really got the whole thinking that where we are now the fifth largest market in terms of market cap. We are all poised to become the third largest economy by the end of the decade, and hopefully a developed country by 2047. So, Sunil Bhaiya, which are the businesses themes which you think can really scale up large from here? I mean, I remember there was a time when IT was small, and it is now $250 billion industry, more than what the oil exports of Aramco are. What can really become large, mega, big if the economy grows?
So one is I will take forward from where Navneet said. I think wealth and asset manager, I think still very, very minuscule. And this is a business where sustainably at least and visibly you can see 25% growth at least for the next 10-20 years. And 25% growth over 10 years is 10x. And if it lasts for 20 years, it is 100x. And it's such a good business. You don't need capital, you need intellectual capital. It is 100% cash conversion. So I think asset management companies, wealth management companies are going to be one of the biggest wealth creators. And frankly, at least for me, I can say that थोड़ा सा डर लगता है when you become an entrepreneur from a very, very large corporate executive and very comfortable life. But I am glad that I took the jump, and we can already see the traction which is there, And as the economy grows, I think people will become more wealthy. The acceptance towards, investing in financial assets is ever increasing. And there is a huge, huge room to grow there. So I think that would be one. Second, I completely, definitely believe that we are going to move ahead towards becoming much larger in innovation, in, setting the trends. There is one Zoho which has come out of India from a very, very small village. There will be hundreds more like that which can come out. Why can't there be a Netflix-like model which comes out of India, or an innovative TikTok or a Meta kind of a model? I think China also was like that. Now see the innovation which China has started to throw out. BYD is much larger than Tesla. TikTok is much larger than Reels and all. Obviously, countries are not happy with China, and therefore their companies are being suppressed. But I think some of these innovations, India will just surprise, because kids have the brains, they have the education. Now there is capital available. आप presentation बनाओ, सिर्फ presentation बनाओ और 4 दरवाजे पे जाओ, your fundraising will be oversubscribed by 10x. अभी इसके आने के पहले मैं कोई कंपनी से मिला, मेरे को कंपनी वाला क्या बोलता है, बोला मैं तो आपका सम्मान करता हूँ, इसके लिए आपको मिल रहा हूँ, मेरा तो फंडरेज सेट है, आपको इन्वेस्ट करना है तो मंडे तक मेरे को बता देना, नहीं तो मैं तो खाली आपके रिस्पेक्ट से आपको मिल रहा हूँ. So the risk capital is available in plenty, and I think that is what you need. What do you need to spur entrepreneurship? You need capital, you need guys who are competent and who have the brains to do it. So I think one is very clearly asset management companies. Second is innovation companies. I think pharma will surprise, because if companies start to go into creating innovation drugs, we have an investment in a company कल परसों आए थे ऑफिस में, they sell something for $500 in the US. And I was asking him whether there is an opportunity in India. बोला नहीं है opportunity इंडिया में. बोला क्यों? बोले वो सेम चीज यहाँ 500 रुपए में बिकती है. Now imagine what they're selling at $500 is available here at 500. So that is the cost competitiveness which this country has. I think it's a matter of time before we just put to things. So I think rather than focusing on कि आज क्या है, I think keep your ears and eyes open. Just see your surroundings. I think if you could have just saw that we were opening more bank accounts in HDFC Bank 20 years back, you would have invested in HDFC. If you would have seen that kids are ordering more pizzas, you would have invested in Jubilant. If you are seeing that we are ordering from the restaurants, you would have invested in Zomato. Just keep your balance and see what is happening. You will automatically get tips every 15 days.
I'd invested in Nippon Mutual Fund. आप तो छोड़ के चल गए, अब क्या करूं?
नहीं, बट मैं छोड़ के चला गया, उससे क्या है? टैलेंट खत्म हो गया क्या? 140 करोड़ लोग हैं. जब सुनील गावस्कर गया ना, तब तेंदुलकर आया. तेंदुलकर गया तो कोहली आया. कोहली गया तो शुभनाम गिल आएगा. जो आया है वो पहले वाले से बेटर है. So I think it is not about one individual or someone else. I think what we are doing is basically creating a platform. We all grew up. I think when I joined Reliance Mutual Fund 35 करोड़ था. और नवनीत ने बोला एक बिल्डिंग में there are so many foreign investors. Frankly, मीडिया भी है ना, कोई गोरा आता है ना, उसको 1 घंटे का टाइम देते हैं. हम जाते हैं ना तो 5 मिनट में, कल क्या लगता है, परसों क्या लगता है, ओके नाउ वी आर टेकिंग अ ब्रेक, गुड बाय. So I think that will also change. I think once scale and size increases, talent will automatically come. पहले jobs ही नहीं थे, अब jobs हैं तो talent भी आ रहा है. And अभी सिद्धार्थ का presentation देख के मेरे को लगा हम तो outdated हो गए, उसने तो सब कुछ उसमें combine कर दिया. हम तो सब कुछ करते ही नहीं. तो I think talent will come.